I'm from Germany. Can you explain why there's IQ differences between ethnicities? For example, 110 to 115 for Ashkenazi Jews, 105 to 110 for Han Chinese, 102 to 104 for white or ethnic Europeans, less than 100 for brown people, and less than 90 for blacks. Will be pleased if you reply. Look, IQ depends on a lot of factors. Okay, first, so let's do a thought experiment. Let's say there's a kid. Let's say there are twins born in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, disaster zone in Africa. Let's say there are twins born there. Let's say two boys, twin boys. You take one boy, and that boy gets lucky and gets to live in the US in a foster family, and the other kid sadly remains in Congo, and they both grow up. So by the time both are 20, so when both the kids reach 20, they're twins, same genetics, same everything, but one grew up in the US, one grew up in Congo. Then at the age of 20, let's say you do an IQ test. I promise you they're going to show a significant difference in their IQs. Okay? So IQ depends on a lot of factors. Even if you have the same genetics, if the upbringing is significantly different, you're going to have a huge difference in IQ. Your nutrition matters. The kind of nutrition you got and the kind of nutrition your brain got, that affects IQ. The kind of nurture you got as a kid, as during your growing up phase, nature, nurture, that sort of thing, that matters. Uh, but yes, I'm sure there is a race component as well. I'm sure there is. Okay? Um, so, and there are people, very intelligent people, who say that IQ is what, a pseudo scientific swindle. I think Nassim Nicholas Taleb, a very intelligent person, he says that. Uh, Look, IQ tests, it's they are designed in a certain way. You, I've taken an IQ test only once in my life. That was more than I don't know what, more than 20 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that if I take the test again today, I'll have a different score. So a lot of things matter. Let's do another experiment. We have twins once again. Okay, two twins who are born, let's say, in Ireland, and one twin gets to live in the US, one stays in Ireland, one becomes an athlete or tries to be an athlete, the other becomes a sedentary drunken person. Well, I can assure you that if you take an IQ test of the two twins, the person who is abusing alcohol will have a much lower IQ. The same applies to drugs and whatnot. So a lot of factors affect IQ. Is there really a race thing in it? I'm sure there must be some kind of genetic factor in this. Um, so my question is, when these people take these IQ tests and they determine that this race has this range of IQ, where do they do it? Most IQ tests are in English. And if you are from another country, half the time you may not understand it very well if English is not your first language. Do they have IQ tests in Swahili? Do they have IQ tests in Bantu? Do they have IQ tests in various other African languages? I'm not sure they do. So there's that factor also that may contribute to a lower IQ test. Uh, and if you are not mathematically inclined, you may not do well in IQ tests. In IQ tests, you have to recognize patterns, and there is a mathematical component, a logical component to it, and so on. So I don't think IQ is the best measure of a person's ability and intelligence, first of all. So that can explain why there are differences. So people who have gone through a certain kind of education, the Western education system, they'll find it much easier to take an IQ test. They'll find the questions more familiar than someone from Africa who has never been in a school, or someone from Africa who speaks a certain African language, was forced to study in a French medium school, and then has to take an IQ test in English. So you have to understand that there are lots of factors that go into the results of the IQ tests that can make that can really skew the scores. And there's also a genetic angle to the amount of intelligence a person has. If you take any two people, there's going to be difference in their intelligence level. Some people are just born more intelligent, some people are just born less intelligent. Is there an ethnic thing in it? There could be. Look, I don't know for sure. It's possible. But yeah, it is said that black people have low IQ and brown people also have some supposedly low IQ. Look at the countries where the black people live today. Okay, when like you're saying blacks, less than 94 blacks. These countries are war torn. They're impoverished. They've got abysmal living standards because of what happened in the last 150 200 years colonization. Right? They have abysmal living standards. Most of the kids who grow up there are malnourished. They don't get a proper education. And when you grow up in that environment, you're not going to have the best performance in IQ tests. So I think there's a lot of factors like these that skew the results of IQ tests and make it look like some ethnicities, some some what do we say? Yeah, some racial groups have higher IQ and some have lower IQ. Let's take why don't we just take IQ tests, do an experiment in which we do the IQ testing for people who live in a very high income nation only. Let's say the US is a good example. It's a very multi-ethnic, multicultural society, mostly white, but many black people, many brown people, Mexicans and Indians and Chinese people as well, Ashkenazi Jews there. Why don't you do an experiment in which you do IQ tests across, let's say you take 10, let's say you take 10 people from each ethnic group, 10 Ashkenazi Jews, 10 African American people, 10 Native American origin people, 10 Indian Americans, Indian as an Indian, dot, not feather, 10 Chinese Americans, 10 Vietnamese Americans, 10 Mexican Americans, 10 white Americans, and then give them the same IQ test. People who are born and brought up in the US. I think you may see a very different set of results there. So it has, I am pretty sure these IQ tests were not done under uniform circumstances. And yet I am pretty sure there is some kind of genetic component that affects the results of IQ tests. So yeah, that may be a controversial thing to say, but it's possible that certain ethnicities may be on average more intelligent than other ethnicities. It's possible. It is possible. Okay.